Take a good look at the greenback in your wallet. For 80 years, this wasn't just paper. It was a diplomatic superweapon. It allowed America to export inflation, sanction enemies into the Stone Age, and essentially buy the world on credit. But the infinite money glitch is about to be patched. While Washington is distracted by internal culture wars, Beijing is quietly architecting a financial guillotine. It's called de-dollarization. The plan? Unite the global south through BRICS, bypass the US banking system, and turn the almighty dollar into, well, just paper. If you think the 2008 crash was bad, wait until you see what happens when the world sends all our inflated dollars back home. The king is naked, and the assassins are already inside the throne room. To understand the murder, we first have to understand the victim's lifestyle. For nearly a century, the US dollar hasn't just been a currency. It's been the operating system of the entire planet. It started in 1944 at Bretton Woods. Europe was rubble, America had all the gold, so we told the world, peg your currencies to the dollar, and we'll peg the dollar to gold. It was a fair deal, until it wasn't. In 1971, Nixon severed the gold link. The dollar became fiat, backed by nothing but faith and credit. By all laws of economics, the dollar should have collapsed. But Washington pulled off the greatest magic trick in financial history, the petrodollar. We made a deal with Saudi Arabia. We protect your throne with our military, you price all your oil in US dollars. Suddenly, every nation on earth needed dollars just to keep the lights on. If France wanted oil, they had to buy dollars. If Japan wanted energy, they had to sell us Toyotas to get greenbacks. This gave America an exorbitant privilege. We could print pieces of paper and trade them for real stuff. German cars, Chinese electronics, Middle Eastern oil. We lived beyond our means because the world subsidized our debt. We could run massive deficits, fight endless wars, and bail out failing banks, all because there was no alternative. The world was forced to swallow our inflation. It was the perfect scam. As long as everyone played by our rules, the party would never end. But in geopolitics, nothing breeds resentment quite like a rigged game. And the other players just stopped having fun. So what broke the machine? Ironically, America did. The unwritten rule of being the world banker is neutrality. You can't be the casino owner and the guy robbing the players at the tables. But in recent years, Washington got addicted to a new drug, sanctions. The turning point, the moment historians will likely mark as the beginning of the end, was February 26, 2022. In response to the Ukraine conflict, the US and its allies did the unthinkable. They froze $300 billion of Russia's central bank reserves. Now put aside your politics for a second and think about the economics. If the US can simply delete the savings of a ESO nuclear-armed G20 nation with the push of a button, is it really money? Or is it a permission slip that can be revoked the moment you disagree with American foreign policy? A chill went down the spine of every leader in the global south. From Riyadh to Brasilia, the realization was terrifying. If they can do it to Russia, they can do it to us. Washington effectively told the world, your money isn't safe here. And the world listened. Enter China, with a blueprint ready to go. While the US was busy weaponizing the SWIFT payment system, Beijing was quietly building a lifeboat called CIPS, Cross-Border Interbank Payment System. They pitched a new narrative to the world, de-dollarization. This isn't just about hating America, it's about survival. China rallied the BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and expanded it. This isn't a ragtag group of rebels anymore. The expanded BRICS now controls more of the global GDP, PPP, than the G7. They control the oil, the rare earth minerals, and the manufacturing, and the glitch is spreading to the one place that matters most, energy. Remember the petrodollar deal with the Saudis? It's crumbling. In a historic shift, Saudi Arabia has started discussing trading oil in Chinese yuan. If the world starts buying oil in yuan, rupees, or rubles, the artificial demand for US dollars evaporates. The trillions of dollars currently held overseas by foreign central banks, they won't need them anymore. Imagine those trillions of unwanted dollars flooding back into the US economy like a tsunami. It would trigger hyperinflation that makes 2022 look like a clearance sale. We used the dollar as a weapon so many times that we forced our enemies, and even our friends to build a shield. We didn't just shoot ourselves in the foot, we handed the gun to China and asked them to pull the trigger. You might be thinking, okay, but the US prints trillions of dollars all the time. Why isn't a loaf of bread $50 yet? This brings us to the most genius and dangerous mechanism of the American empire. We export our inflation. Think of the global economy like a giant dinner party. The US is the guy at the head of the table ordering caviar and champagne. But instead of paying with cash, he pays with IOUs scribbled on napkins. The other guests, China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, accept these napkins. Why? Because they can trade them with each other to buy oil or weapons. As long as those napkins stay at the party circulating among the guests, the guy at the head of the table, the US, never actually has to pay up. He gets free caviar. The world gets paper. Technically, this shields the US economy. When the Federal Reserve prints $1 trillion, those dollars don't stay in Kansas or Ohio chasing up the price of milk. They fly to Beijing to buy iPhones and to Riyadh to buy barrels of crude. We get the cheap goods, they keep the inflation. But here's the terrifying part that China understands perfectly. The napkins only have value if the guests agree they do. This is where the BRICS currency strategy comes in. It's not just about creating a new coin. It's about creating a currency backed by tangible assets, gold, oil, rare earths, real stuff. Central banks around the world are currently buying gold at the fastest pace since 1967. Why? Because they are preparing to dump the napkins. If the BRICS nations succeed in creating a viable, resource-backed trade currency, the demand for the dollar drops. And in economics, when demand dies, supply becomes a curse. Imagine if every guest at that dinner party suddenly decided they didn't want the napkins anymore. They all throw them back at the guy at the head of the table simultaneously. This is the nightmare scenario, repatriation. Those trillions of dollars floating overseas, estimates say nearly half of all US currency is held abroad, would have nowhere to go but home. They would flood the US domestic market. Suddenly you have a tsunami of cash chasing the same amount of goods. That's not just 8% inflation. That is wheelbarrow economics. That is the Weimar Republic. By relying on the world to hold our debt, we didn't eliminate the risk of hyperinflation. We just stored it in a dam upstream. And China is currently handing out jackhammers to crack the wall. So, is the dollar going to zero tomorrow? Should you bury gold bars in your backyard and learn Mandarin? Not exactly. Reserve currencies don't die of a heart attack. They die of cancer. It's a slow, painful, wasting disease. The dollar is still the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry basket for now. The US military is still formidable, and the inertia of the global system is strong. But make no mistake, the unipolar world is dead. The exorbitant privilege is expiring. History is undefeated. From the Roman denarius to the Dutch guilder and the British pound, no currency rules forever. The average lifespan of a global reserve currency is about 94 years. The dollar has reigned for roughly 80. Do the math. We are in the fourth quarter, and the opposing team just figured out our playbook. The world is fracturing into two distinct economic blocks, the West and the BRICS. As this divide widens, the era of cheap goods and low inflation is over. The napkins are starting to come home. Most people will sleepwalk into this transition. They'll blame the president, the supply chain, or bad luck when their savings lose half their purchasing power. Don't be most people. If you want to understand the hidden economic gears that actually drive the world, the stuff they conveniently forget to teach in school, hit that subscribe button. We don't just report the fire. We show you where the exits are. And if you think the government doesn't have a plan B to control your money when the dollar crashes, think again. Click this video right here to see how CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, might be the final trap for your financial privacy.